Lance Hall here for Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. Happy to welcome Matt Robbins of Cicadastone to the program tonight here, tomorrow over there in Australia where you are. This is kind of neat.
It's crazy, huh?
It's when you stop and think of it. Pretty wild stuff.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for taking the time as well.
Absolute pleasure.
New album Coal Chamber coming out March 19th on Golden Robot Records.
Correct.
Good stuff. I've heard, of course, heard an advanced copy of it. Dustin got me one, and watched the videos and everything. This is a killer album, Matt. You're following up 2016's Chance to Collide.
Yeah.
Are these all fairly new songs, or any sort of leftover from that album, or is everything sort of brand spanking new here?
It's certainly it's part of the legacy, I guess. I write songs and I don't stop. I just kind of keep writing. So a lot of these songs are continuing on from the last record. One song on the record, it's called Burden That You Wear, was actually written before the first album, actually.
Wow.
And then I wrote the song Chance Collide, and I just felt they both kind of lived in the same place. So I didn't think it was a good idea to have them both on the same album, so I just shelved Burden That You Wear for this album, and I think it was a good move.
Very cool. Yeah, I want to get into that. I made some notes on a few of the tracks here, and that's definitely one I got a few comments on. I love that track. First thing I got to ask too is, where was I got some promo shots in with the the EPK. Where were those promo shots done? That looks like really cool.
You know what? It's about 15 minutes from where I live. It's a wildlife sanctuary area in the western suburbs of Melbourne, and it's right near a RAF base as well, so it's just kind of really disconnected from suburbia, even though it's right next to suburbia. There's a beach there, and there's this huge salt flat area that's it's amazing. It's actually amazing, and I forgot all about it. And when we went to shoot the photos, the photographer, and I've grown up in this area, and the photographer was like, I want to take you out to this place called Point Cook. And I'm like, yeah, I know Point Cook. And he's like, yeah, there's a big old salt flat out there. I'm like, oh, shit. All right, well, let's go out there. And it's just incredible.
Yeah. Great. I mean, you look like you're way out, away from everything. That's cool.
Yeah, I know, right? But it's literally just up the road.
Yeah. That's awesome. I love the cover art and the title of the album, Coal Chamber. You sort of use that just because it gave the vibe that you were looking for. I think I read in one interview.
Yeah, exactly. We kind of had the songs there, and my brother, who's also in the band, we were like, well, we need to call the album something. That's kind of what you do, and we just looked at the themes of the songs and what resonated the most, and that one definitely jumped out. It was a clear winner for what we could where we could take it visually, conceptually, and the end result is, we threw a girl in a pool and put her behind this awesome looking cool screen. And the girl is actually my niece, funny enough. She's a gorgeous kid. And we shot this album cover, which I really love. I love that we went to the effort to manufacture our own cover. We didn't just grab something online or buy a photo. We made it. We made it from scratch. Everything you see on that cover, we made.
It's a great image. Now it pops up sort of in the video for Box of Anger. Is that your niece in the video as well?
Yeah, it is her. Yeah. Cool. We roped her into that too. And it's funny, she's a growing girl, and when we shot the back cover of the album, she's on the back cover as well. And we actually took the chamber that we built. We took it out to Point Cook in that salt flat. We shot it out there. And by the time it was kind of like an afterthought, it was a few months later. We're like, oh, let's take it out there. It'll kind of join the worlds together a bit. And we had to find the dress that she was wearing on the album cover. So she finds the dress and it barely fits her now. It's been about 3-4 months later. So we only just got away with it.
Very cool. They do grow fast, don't they?
They do grow, yes.
Now, did I read correctly, though? Coal Chamber came sort of late into the mix of this album. You wrote it during a time period where you had to redo all the drums?
That's exactly right. So we recorded the album originally with a different drummer. and he's a great friend of ours and a lovely guy. And it just didn't really pan out right. I didn't think he had the right feel in the end. I probably should have called it sooner, but you know, I wanted to see where it would go. And in the end, you know, we had a full album of drums, and it just wasn't working. And so I ended up we ended up having to have that conversation. We got a new drummer, and he was fine about it. But we got a new drummer who definitely was Jared, who definitely fit the bill a bit better.
Yeah.
But it also meant time had to pass by, and when we went to re-record, I'd written Cold Chamber in those last few months, and also Out of Sight, which was one of the singles off the album. So it kind of was a fortunate setback.
Mm-hmm. But those things happen in rock and roll, and out of it you got the title track and everything, and it's very, very cool. That's awesome.
Meant to be, I think.
Yeah. Now you've had 3 singles come out: The Box of Anger, Out of Sight, which you mentioned, Dying in Sunshine. And did I just see posted like today you've got another video that's going to come out Monday for Slave in a Cage?
Yeah, Slave in a Cage is like Slave in a Cage was actually meant to be the 3rd single, but we didn't have a video ready in time. So we ended up because we were in lockdown last year, when we were in heavy lockdown. We were probably in the most hardest lockdown in the world at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I literally wasn't allowed to leave my 5 kilometers from my house.
Wow.
So we ended up, we couldn't shoot the video we wanted to shoot. So I ended up making a lyric video, and we released Out of Sight. So it's great that now we can finally release Slave in a Cage, which I think is a pretty rocking tune.
Yeah.
So the single comes out next Monday, and then the video comes out on the Friday album release day.
Cool. Very cool. Now, did you have the album complete? Obviously, you must have had the album completed prior to the lockdown, correct?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
did you have like all the post stuff done, or did you use that time for the production, the mix, and all that, or was that all done as well?
It was all done. The album's been sitting there since. You know what? I went to America in September 2019. And I had to get the album finished before I left, and I literally finished it and handed it in, and then jumped on a plane to America the next day. So it's been ready since September 2019.
Wow.
And we've been waiting and waiting and waiting, which it's been hard.
Now there's 13 tracks plus 2 acoustic tracks, which I read you did to fill out the vinyl.
Yeah,
if you hadn't, the side 4 of the vinyl would have been like 1 song.
Yeah, it was like, well, it's a long song too. It's like a 6 or 7 minute song, but it's still like 20 minutes on the side, I think, something like that. So I remember thinking it just feels a bit stupid to kind of do that. It was either cut the song or add more. And me and my brother, we'd recorded about 2 years before. We had recorded like a couple of acoustic versions of some of the first album. And so I just grabbed that stuff, and we grabbed the drummer and the bass player, and we just got them to record some rhythm section parts over that, and then I remixed it and we put it on the vinyl, which I think is a great idea.
Yeah, very cool. Let's talk about a few of the tracks here. I've made a few notes. I mean, I know with like lyrics, you like to let people interpret and their own stories and stuff. So I kind of stayed away from some of the lyrical content. And I'm a music guy. So right off, Red Eye Raven caught me. You got almost like a Floydish intro, like a Pink Floyd type intro.
Yeah.
And it kicks right into a total more Alice in Chains vibe after that.
It sure does, yeah.
And then your outro on the end of the album, I'll spoil it. The outro is sort of the same way. Did you have that decided to bookend at the beginning, or did that just happen to fall into place?
Yeah, it's got that little intro and outro thing, which was it was never meant to be on the intro. I wrote it I just kind of, when I write stuff, I just stumble around, and I go where it takes me. And with the outro of the album, I had this little chord progression that I really liked, and then I just had this revelation one day to go, hey, maybe you could start the album as well. And so I just developed it, and I recorded. I've got this little wind up clock here. Right. So I just recorded the clock and detuned it and just added all this stuff to it, and and came up with this kind of crazy sort of atmosy intro,
Yeah.
which works great on both ends of the album.
Yeah, I thought it was awesome. You know, when I heard the clock tick and the way the guitar just kind of chimed in and everything, I'm like, wow,
Yeah.
this is good. I like this. Definitely like this.
Thank you.
Track 3, Incandescent. Huge freaking drums on that track.
Yeah.
And the vibe of it, with the way the drumming was, maybe coming way out of left field here, it kind of reminded me of the Spinal Tap tune Big Bottom, the way the drums were.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
You know?
nice one. I didn't realize that, but that's
kind of that kind of vibe to it, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Just a huge drum tune. Now, you did all the production on this album, correct?
Yeah, I did. I run a studio here in Melbourne, and it's always been something I've done, and it grew out of just being a songwriter as a kid. You know, I've always written songs and recorded my own stuff, and it just over time grew into a real studio, I guess.
Yeah, very cool. Great tune. Burden That You Wear. That's a heavy title, you know, of a song. When you stop and think about the words of it, I love the acoustics in that track. The solo out was awesome. But tell me a little bit about at least the title. How did you come up with Burden That You Wear?
You know, it's based on someone I know, who made some poor choices and had to wear those choices for a long time before the truth came out, you know. And I guess in a way it's a typical story in life. It's not the first time, but it is a story, and it is a heavy one at that, you know.
Yeah. That's when I got to that and I read that, I'm like, man, that's just heavy.
Yeah, it's heavy. It's pretty heavy.
Now, speaking of heavy, Dime a Dozen. That intro and that main riff is the word I have here is brutal. I mean,
yeah, it's big, you know, and originally it had the intro part, but it just went straight into the song, and I just felt it never sort of. It needed a bit more anticipation, you know, and so we did that big bass drop, you know. We actually grabbed the bass guitar, the key, the actual tuning peg, and just wound it down, and it sounds wild.
Yeah, that's a great track. X-Rays of Our Minds. I love the vocal effect on it, kind of almost like psychedelic. It reminded me of Enough's Enough. The vocal on like Fly High Michelle, you know, it's got that little, I don't know what is used. I'm not a recording guy, whether it's a flange or a delay or whatever, but it's like that same feel.
Like a Leslie speaker, you know?
Yeah, there you go. But that, you know, another little studio trick you picked up along the way.
Yeah, you know, you kind of you work off things you've heard in the past, and you go, oh, this would sound great because it reminds me of this or reminds me of that. So yeah, for sure, that was definitely a Leslie speaker style sound that I threw on the vocal. That song is going to have a video that we've already shot. We will release in a few months, and it's not really, I wouldn't consider it a single as such, but you know, when we were in lockdown again, I just had a really good idea for visuals for that, and I don't really do things based off what a single is. I just do things based off what a good idea is. Sure. So that song will have a video in a few months. Yeah.
Cool. You know, I got down in between like Slow Motion and Downriver, and I got to tell you, as I was listening to this, it was sort of like late in the evening. The sun was just sort of, you know, had dropped down. The sky was starting to turn, you know, that purple you get in the evening and stuff. And this album was the perfect soundtrack for that time of day.
Oh, beautiful.
It
amazing.
Great. You know, then when I got to Downriver, of course, we talked about how you kind of had the same outro as the intro on Red Eye Raven. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant, you know. So
right.
Very cool stuff. It must have been hard to sit on this album for as long as you guys have, you know.
It's been really hard, yeah. And I mean, we're fortunate, you know, last year we were fortunate to have the album ready to go, and we could drop singles throughout the year, which kind of kept it interesting for us. I know there's a lot of bands around town that didn't have that opportunity, and we've just been waiting, you know, to get back out there. So in a way, it's been good for us because it's kept us kind of relevant all through the pandemic.
Sure.
And we've got a whole third record kind of in demos, just waiting to go. I can't wait to start recording the next album, because we can. We're just ready to do it.
Exactly. You've had the time to do it.
We've had the time. That's right.
What is the scene like down there? You're in Melbourne, correct?
Yes, that's right.
What's like the music scene like? Is it a healthy competition between bands, or a lot of bands, a few? Are you friends, enemies? How does it all
Look,
work down there?
I think I don't know. It's a tough one. I think it depends on your age. Like anything, you go through stages in life. You can be an egomaniac, and then you can be humble at some point in your life. I've met bands in town where they've been super cool and everyone's easygoing, and then you see the ego guys, and that's just where they're at.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I think it's a pretty healthy scene here. We've got. I mean, venues have shut down a lot in the last few years, but we do have a lot of venues, and people do see live music, and Melbourne is kind of known for its live music, and we've got a stack of great bands here too.
Yeah. I think you find once you get a little older and you've been knocked down a few times and you've had to sort of pick yourself up, that ego sort of, goes to the wayside. You realize, you just gotta, be a
Absolutely.
little nicer,
I know when I was 20, I was kicking around, and I probably had a huge ego back then. But these days, you're right. I've had my knockbacks and in life in general, and I just can't believe that I'm talking to someone on the other side of the world about my record. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah, and I agree, and I'll echo back. To have an artist take the time out of their day to talk to me, it's I love
Pleasure.
it. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about the band now. You've got a brother dynamic there. You mentioned him, Mark. He's your older brother, correct?
He is. Yeah, he is.
And he was the one who was bringing the music in and getting things going as you guys were growing up.
Yeah, he would always introduce me to lots of cool bands. Definitely from memory, definitely Midnight Oil was a band that he introduced me to. A fantastic Australian band.
Yeah.
And maybe Def Leppard was another band he showed me as a kid, and that's what a big brother should do, right?
Absolutely. Being in Australia, I've got to bring up this band because I've interviewed a few other people from Australia as well, and every time I mention this band, they're like, "Oh yeah, I love these." Band called Cheetah.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, it's funny. It's
the sisters, right?
Yeah, I definitely see why people say that. Probably never really been on my radar, to be honest, but I definitely see why people would say that.
Yeah. I actually have the album on vinyl. Love it. So
oh, awesome.
Now, have you and your brother, like, you played together for a while, then you didn't, and then you sort of started playing again? I know one of your old bands was called TransAtlantic or something.
Oh, wow, gee, you've done your homework.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like me and Mark, we used to play as kids. We used to play in a band called Thimble Eye, which was like this, basically a kid version of this band, to be honest. And as life does, it throws its curveballs. And Mark had to take a break for a long time. He just had to get away from it, and I just kicked onto other things, and eventually, and then I had this band called TransAtlantic. Which really didn't do anything, but I had an album of songs, and just as we finished the album, he's like, "Oh, I've been playing guitar again, and I want to play on that record." And I'm like, "Fuck!" I'm like, "Really?" I said, "I've just finished it." He's like, "Yeah," and I'm like, "All right, come in, and we'll get you on it." So he comes in one day, and he starts recording one of the songs, and he was pretty average. And I'm like, "Mark," I said, "Go away, come back in a month, practice." So he did that, and he came back, and we recorded some stuff, and it was good to see him back playing music again, because it'd been a really long time for him, and then that band kind of just sort of folded, and then this band kind of started, really.
Now, did he start playing guitar first, and then you followed, or did you start and then he followed? How did that work?
I can't really remember. I think he might have started first, or maybe I started. No, I started first. I started just tinkering with stuff, but I started when I was about 14. He started a bit later, and he always was like, "Oh, I've left it too late. But he was still a teenager, for crying out loud.
Sure.
But yeah, I mean, we've never been musicians that have been like extremely dedicated to the craft. Like we've just done our own thing, our own way. I can't say we're amazing guitar players or singers. We just do what we do, and we do it our way, and we know how to work towards our strengths, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, do you like split the rhythm and the solos, or does one of you do rhythm, the other one does lead? How does that work?
I think we want to split it. Because I generally write all the songs, I just demo it all myself, and I try to leave room for him, but ultimately I'll just slap something down, which might be a solo. But we do have to find time. We do sometimes find time. We do need to find more time to actually divvy it up a bit more.
Yeah.
Just to balance it out a bit would be nice.
Whichever one of you that did the solo out on Burden That You Wear, I love that solo. That was a fantastic
solo. That was him, actually. He did that one. Yeah,
that was a great solo. That one really caught my ear. I'm a guitar solo guy, so every time I hear one like that,
awesome. Yeah, it's a beautiful solo, that one.
So where was the moment that you decided you wanted to pick up a guitar? Were you writing songs at the time, or did that come after? Where was that magic moment that I want to play guitar, I want to write songs?
I think I heard Appetite for Destruction. That might have been the moment. And I used to listen to it over and over and over, and I just wanted to play guitar, but I had no mentor, I had no one to hang out with that play guitar. My parents had a music collection, but they never, we didn't have instruments around the home or anything. So it was really, I had to discover it myself. I had to sort of go and find it, and that's how it was.
How about like the songwriting? I mean, were you always jotting down things? That fascinates me, because I've never been able to write a song. It fascinates me as to how the process is.
I don't know. I guess I always write songs from pretty young, in my teenage years, and it was always grabbing a leaf out of this band's book or that band's book. I think over time you just learn how to take your influence, but still make it your own. I think you learn how to do that a bit better over time, and that just takes a bit of maturity and a bit of just time.
Yeah. Did you enjoy writing other things other than songs? I mean, were you like a good English student in school?
No, terrible. Really? Terrible at it all. Yeah. I could write stories. I always had a bit of creativity with stories, but it was never anything I sort of put too much time into. It was always songs for me.
Very cool. Now, what's the current situation like down there in Australia? Is it opening up? Are you still in lockdown as far as going forward in the future?
It's opening up. And we actually have an album launch next Friday, actually, for the album, in a real venue with real people.
Nice.
Which is going to be great. I can't say it'll be packed because COVID restrictions are limiting the venue to, I guess, space people out in the venue.
Right.
But I think just the fact that we can even have a gig is, a step in the right direction right now.
Yeah.
But it certainly is opening up, and our state governments have been a bit quick on the trigger to shut our borders and shut everything down, which has sucked. But I think things are starting to ease now.
Yeah. I'm finding we took so much for granted before this all started,
Oh, yeah.
I remember one night I was watching a Kiss concert I had on DVD, and I'm looking at the audience and I'm remembering the times I saw them. And I'm like, I thought to myself, am I ever going to get to see this again? Is this going to happen again?
I know, it's amazing. You're right.
Stuff we took as natural as breathing all of a sudden got took away from us,
Sure.
So looking forward to the future. Hopefully you're going to do this release party. Things are going to continue to open up. If you could go out and do like a dream tour, who would you like to hook up with in your fantasy tour?
Boy, I mean, we're a 90s band, born from sounds of the 90s. So, any one of those amazing bands that wrote great songs in the 90s would be it for me. Stone Temple Pilots or Soundgarden or Alice in Chains or Pearl Jam or you name it. I love all those bands. That would be it for me.
Yeah. Were you ever into Mother Love Bone?
Yeah, not so much. And I know the story of that band, and I know the origins. And I've listened to some of the stuff, and I get it. But I think it was it's actually really interesting to listen to because, you know, Pearl Jam have written some amazing songs. But even to me, like I hear the immaturity in Mother Love Bone, and I hear where they were starting and where they've gone. And it's kind of nice to know that these guys had to do that, had to go through that, those stages to get to the songs that were more mature and took them further. But no, great band, absolutely, and in a very important band.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes you wonder, you know, if Andrew would have lived, what might have happened there.
Might have happened, yeah.
Yeah, it's
the same. It's the same for Alice in Chains, you know. If Lane Staley hadn't passed away, this second version of Alice in Chains with 3 albums probably never would have happened, you know. Because I know that from what I've heard, you know, in their last few recordings with Lane, like they weren't even on talking terms. So had Lane lived, you know, maybe that band would have stopped, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's interesting, the ifs and buts.
Yeah, to look back, you know, hindsight's 2020, you know.
My word.
But, yeah. Talking with Matt Robbins here, and let's discuss with Lance Hall. He is the lead guitarist, one of the guitarists here. I don't want to take away from Mark here. And his brother Mike, guitar and vocals, right? You know, you both trade off vocals as well? Or you did?
No, I don't really. He does all the backup vocals. But I certainly do the vocals. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's your Jerry Cantrell too.
He certainly is. He certainly is. We certainly do our own thing, but yes, that's how you could definitely say it.
The band is Cicadastone. The new album Cold Chamber coming out March 19th on Golden Robot Records. Now we talked about Jared the drummer. Let's give the bass player a little love as well.
Yeah, Tommy Sunset is I mean, Jared and Tommy, they're just road dogs. Those guys, they've played in every band in town, and they're lovely guys. They're real clowns, especially when they're together. They're really like just, man, those guys are on fire. Yeah. But you know, Tommy, he's got a heart of gold, and he's super talented bass player, and he's always super keen, and if anything, he's always too hard on himself. You know, I'm always saying, man, just lighten up. You know, you're doing a great job. You know, but a lovely guy, and it's been great to have him on this record, and hopefully the next record.
Absolutely. So it sounds like this is like a real veteran band. You know, you've had your ups and downs in the music world, sure. And now we've endured COVID, which I think, you know, just brings to light even more things, you know, that we took for granted and stuff. So I think once we get firing back on all cylinders, I can't wait to see what you guys are coming out with next. I think it's going to be awesome.
Well, we really, I mean, ideally, we by now would have loved to have made it overseas, and you know, just done a bit of touring overseas. America is definitely on my list, and it didn't happen obviously because of COVID, and it's not going to happen this year. But you know, possibly next year, in 2022, we'd love to get over there and play some gigs with some amazing American bands if we can.
Yeah, absolutely, be very cool. Matt, I always like to wind things up with just some silly questions. I'm hoping these are questions maybe you've never even been asked before.
Sure, go for it.
Favorite toy growing up as a child?
I was a huge Transformers fan.
All right.
Excellent. And I had a big collection of Transformers when I was a kid.
Last music other than your own that you listened to?
There's a local band in town called Riff Raiders, and I've got their record in my car, and I've been flogging that to death. They're great. They're more of like a pub rock style band. Very cool band.
Excellent. If you could pick a television show to have a Cicadastone song placed in, what show would you pick?
Oof, boy, one with a lot of episodes.
Okay. All the residuals, right?
You got it.
Given your choice of household chores, dishes or laundry?
Oh, Jesus. Well, I'd say dishes because I got a dishwasher.
Okay. Is there something outside of music you're good at? Like, are you a good woodworker or a good welder or a gardener or something like that?
I'm really not good at any of that stuff. Mark can tick all those boxes. He's fantastic at all of that stuff. I'm a bit of a videographer.
Okay.
A very, very, very average one, but I've made the videos for the last few Cicadastone singles, so I kind of enjoy it because it's more of a challenge for me, and I feel like I'm kind of doing all right at it.
Yeah, I'd say you are too. They're great videos. You know, gives you a chance to step outside your wheelhouse a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah, I love it.
Cool. Let's see. Favorite superhero?
Let's see. Probably it'd probably have to be Thor, surely.
Okay.
Well, I can do anything.
We'll go in the opposite direction. Favorite villain?
Favorite villain, Lex Luthor. Got to be Lex Luthor.
If you could go back in time to your youth and have your mom cook one of your favorite childhood meals, what would you have her make?
Oh, Jesus. You know, I when I was a kid, I was so bland as a kid. Spaghetti and tomato sauce would probably be it.
Okay. Last one, and this is the one we have the most fun with. If they were to make a biopic of your life, what actor would you have play you in the movie? It's your life, your movie. You can pick anybody.
Oh, you know what? Maybe Seth Rogen. That'd be great.
Seth Rogen? Yeah, that'd be excellent. He's great. That's very, very cool. All right. Well, Matt, once again, thank you very much for your time. We've been chatting with Matt Robbins here, and Let's Discuss with Lance Hall. The band is called Cicadastone. They are a fantastic band out of Australia. New album, Cold Chamber, is coming out March 19th on Golden Robot Records. Hopefully this all ends soon and we can all get back to rocking and rolling. You guys can get out there playing live and I can be in the audience watching you. And
for sure.
Have some good times.
Thanks so much for having me, mate.
Absolutely. I appreciate the time.
Your pleasure.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
And enjoy your night.
All right. Thank you.
Later, mate.
Bye-bye.